Real
so
quick.
we'll wrap it up this week in our Mindset Mastermind. Exactly what to say. And today, guys, 16, 17, and 18. Two types of
17,
people.
18, and 19.
I bet you're a bit like me. And if then statements. So I could talk all day. That's what I am known for. And that being said, I always want to hear from you guys first and foremost. So, what are some of your big takeaways from those three sections of exactly what to say?
Hey, I'll be quick. I wanted to welcome Monique Moffett from outside of Philadelphia. She's got a newborn baby, and I threw it out to my group, and she jumped on. So just wanted to say welcome, Monique. And we're going over the three chapters. I'll leave you alone. Sorry. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, go show that property, Stacy. Thanks for popping in. Monique, great seeing you here. What do you guys have from the content?
Well, you did say 17, 18, 19 and told you to remind you of that. So anyway, having said that, I know I'm probably opening myself up.
That's okay. If you have something from 19, go for it. I meant 16, 17, 18. It's all good.
All right.
What do you got, Tom?
I knew you put me on it. Yeah, I got to get back into the game here. I mean, I read it and listened to it. And I'd just say that I bet you're like me in that sometimes when you get put on the spot, it's difficult. Am I right?
Well, here is the solution for making it less difficult. And this is what I recommend and I have been recommended. And we got some new faces, so I'll go back to it again. Green highlighter. I happen to love green because it's the color of money, which is one of the reasons we're in this business. And you just highlight. That way you actually know. So on this, I bet you're a bit like me. I love this element of this section and using it over and over. In fact, Ryan and I used it today in a coaching conversation. It is even more powerful in a conversation with a stranger than it is with somebody you already know. So here's the context we used it in, because real estate agents, especially new ones, seem to think that the way they get business is giving out business cards. And well, the answer to that is no. Our goal is to get in a relationship and get conversation and to get their connection information. And so one of the ways we can do this, if someone asks for your business card, of course you're going to give it to them, but then the follow-up conversation, I bet you're a bit like me. Have you ever gotten somebody's business card and then when you knew you wanted to talk to them, you couldn't find it? By the way, how many people on this call have had that happen? Yeah, every hand goes up, right? I want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So for communication, do you prefer email, text, or phone call? Now we're going back to an early chapter of giving three options. Oh, an email would be great. Fantastic. Let me get that information. Now, if I have something quick and in the moment, would you prefer a call or a text? And then get that information. You've now got, by the way, whichever call or text they give you, you've got their cell phone, so you have both. And that's how you move from giving a card to getting the content, to getting their connection. And again, it's right to 17. I bet you're a bit like me. That will make that transition easy with strangers. What else you guys have from the content? Thanks, Tom, for opening that up.
I will say that that is a much better way of saying it than how I have said it in the past, that business cards are freaking dead and I don't see why you should be using them anymore. And because if you don't get their information, they're going to throw away your shit. So thank you for helping me see the light on that a little bit better and appreciate the softer touch with it. And it's going to pay massive dividends. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's going to help your team as well as yourself. Yep. What else you guys have?
Well, if you're in conversation when you're in conversation with somebody and you say, "I bet you're a bit like me," um, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to argue with you. And it will, and the other part of this that it mentions, it says that people in general, this is on page 92, people in general are not always completely honest. And this helps them get to that honest place.
Will you please read that again into the room, Doug?
Sure. On page 92, it talks about how people are not always exactly honest with you for some reason. And when you say something like this really helps them be more honest because you've already confessed, "I bet you're a bit like me." And it makes it easier for them to agree with you. So this is really a great magic words to help them get over a bit of a hurdle.
Yeah, you might be able to use it in a situation where a buyer isn't forthcoming on their down payment or their pre-qualification. And again, using it in you're looking for the negative, use it in a more positive light. Gosh, I bet you're a bit like me. You get all excited about the home purchase process and you don't get all the little details done behind the scenes. Am I right?
That's right.
By the way, how many here, when you get excited about something, details fall through the cracks?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see heads nod. Oh, yeah, sure, Tom. Yeah. Okay. There's so many things that we have commonality with everybody on as human beings. We all have that frailty, that vulnerability. There's things that are simple that we all do that I always point out are just my God's sense of humor. And we can now connect by sharing from our position, our vulnerability, and they may be a bit like it. What else you guys have?
I was thinking also of that part. I bet you're a bit like me, and you can see it's interesting to see the expressions on various people's faces as they consider how they might be like you. And so it really opens up the inquisitiveness or the inquiry or, just the look on people's faces as they see that. And it gives you a place to learn the conversation, where to take the conversation and see how it changes even from before to after that that section.
So here's the other thing about these three, which is why I bookended them into here. It's antithetical to most of what we want you to do. Think about it. All three of these, there are two types of people in the world. Is that asking a question or telling them something? I bet you're a bit like me, asking a question or telling them something. If this happens, then that happens. Asking a question or telling them something. These are all tells that now once you've told, you've got to spin it into a question. By the way, one of the easiest ways to do that is to add a tie down. A tie down 1 to 4 words that goes in at the end of a statement that is a question that is a general question on things. So let's just say, I bet you're a bit like me. You might take a business card and lose it. Might you?
Wouldn't I agree, right?
Has that ever happened? Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another key with tie downs I want to make sure you guys are attentive to is the way you deliver them. We've talked about that 55% of communication success is body language, 38% rate of speech, tonality, the way you speak, and only 7% is the words you use. So we're learning the words, we're learning the 7%, yet delivery on a tie down is key. It's got to have a downswing. Don't you agree? Downswing creates confidence. Downswing creates commonality and agreement, doesn't it? And in fact, in every conversation you have, any statement you make, you could add a tie down, couldn't you? And the fun part for me is if you are in rapport, if the subconscious connection is there, the people will turn into bobbleheads, won't they? And notice you can't help yourself. You're doing it, which is everybody. So that's the fun with this. Now, if you upswing like you've been trained, if there's a question mark, I got to take my voice up. That's what you learned as a kindergartner. It will create confusion. It will create concern. It will create potentially curiosity. You're meeting with a seller for the first time. You haven't thought about selling this yourself, have you? Almost sounds dirty. Almost sounds like, oh my gosh, no one would ever want to do that. Just that upswing changes how it comes across. So make sure with any of the statements in here that are in this book that you figure out either a tie down you want to use in the moment or a follow-up question to move it back to them speaking. Does that make sense?
Yes, Coach Russ.
Awesome. What else you guys have?
Well, I wanted to say one thing. There's a pet peeve of mine, right? Where they're telling us something, right? And they end up asking a question, which to me makes me stop and think. So when people use right as another word for or as a crutch, and they end up asking the question, it really stops the flow of the conversation. Don't you agree?
Now, by the way, right is a tie down. It can be used. I will share with you, though, that one word tie downs are very difficult to deliver with a downswing. So that's maybe part of why, Tom, that it makes you uncomfortable, because they say it with an upswing, right?
No, that's absolutely true. It's like they're asking a question which makes them lose credibility. And so, I mean, I hear all kinds of people, leaders on stages saying, right? And wait, you're supposed to be telling. And that's that's my 2 cents. I'll have 2 cents more.
And just one of the pet peeves, just one.
Yeah, oh, for sure, just one.
Absolutely. What else you guys have?
I'd like to add to this. I've used this technique, so I will say, as agents, let's say you have 5 appointments to get through in one day. And you have your goal, you have your end within mind, and out of those 5, you need to get at least 3 yeses, right? But you walk into a situation, maybe you're having a bad day or you just had bad news. If you're trained and you've practiced this technique, when you walk into an uncertain situation and maybe you're lacking confidence, or it's one of those situations where someone can easily run over you because they're trying to in order for you to maintain control of the subject and to stay on track and reach those goals. This has worked for me in the past whenever I'm I don't want to get swallowed by this person if I stay longer than 30 minutes, and I'll use those upswings and those tie downs to just kind of barrel through and just to get to the yes or the no and kind of analyze how am I going to handle this person going forward? I need to get in, get out, at least get the next appointment, and then maybe come talk to coach or the team and say, wow, this really, but move through it so I can still get through my next 2 appointments. So if you practice, it will help you in those tricky moments, I will say. I don't know.
No, you're absolutely on point, and what you've just brought is so key. If you practice, it will get you through those tricky moments because it will be part of your lexicon. It will be part of your normal speech because you practiced it. And I just want to go to another highlighted section in here that I put a big block around on the 2 types of people. Something for you to think about as a reader, coach input now, or an attendee in this room, is that there are 2 types of people in this world. Those who read books, coach input, or attend and learn in this room, and do nothing, and those who put what they read into practice and enjoy immediate results. Again, 2:00 Central, every day in this room, we have people show up who wish to practice, and then we set up triads and practice. And yet I'm telling you now, I've got 30 people here. How many did I have yesterday at 2:00? Okay. I'd love to get you guys to be showing up at that so you can take what you learn and put it into practice. So you can continue to learn from others and see other ways of having these conversations and improve your conversations. Every one of you is paid in direct proportion to the number of conversations you have. So quantity first, and then we bend that curve and improve it by quality, which comes from practice. If you guys just have a huge volume of conversations, I promise you, no matter what, you'll find business. It might be 1 in 100, yet that would mean you'd find a business every week if you had 20 conversations a day. You come in and practice, you can turn that into like 1 in 7 by getting really good at the language. I want to help you guys do it. That's why we brought this book into the content. And it's one of the things that I've been committed to for every one of you since you've showed up in my world, is improving the quality of your conversations. So what else you guys have from the content? Thank you, Kendra, for bringing that in.
Hey, Coach, I remember the very first time I took a class from Diana Kokoska, and it was called Language of Sales, and I'm sure you're familiar with that. One of the things that struck me in her class, she said that when she learned, given the same circumstances as human beings, 80% of us would react the same way. So once you figure out what the objection handlers are, how to ask the correct questions, you're going to capture 80% of the people with your dialogue with them. I feel like this book is the other 20%, that you're going to take that 80% and ratchet it up even higher. I'm ahead. I'm up to like 30. And one of the things that he talks about, and this is part of it too, where he said that I bet you're like me. He also put on there that just out of curiosity, and everything that he's teaching us is to help them make a decision. And he gives a percentage. If you say it this way, they're already leaning 50% or 60% in that direction. If you use this dialogue, you're going to get the other 40%. And so to me, that's one of the things that Diana Kokoska taught was it's a percentage thing. So if we learn this information, like you said, and we take the time to role play and really becomes part of our vernacular, we're going to ratchet it up to probably 90-95% of our conversations to yes every single time using this information. And I think you hit it right on the nose that the practice is probably the most important part. And you would probably even say on the phone that practice would ratchet that up even higher when you're making your phone calls and using this.
Absolutely. And the fun part with you, Mark, you've been in my universe for a very long time. And so you're playing at that 80+%. You're in that high conversion rate world, and not everybody is yet. So even practice might take you from a 20% conversion to a 50 overnight. And what Mark said, again, page 86 in chapter 16, to me, the primary job description of all sales professionals is to be the decision catalyst. That's what you guys are doing in the lives of the clients and prospects. Yet still the job can be more simply described as you are a professional mind maker upper. So if you're not getting people to do that, you have not yet really leaned into the job description and having the skills to get us there. Josh, I believe you got your mic hot.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of follow up with what Jeanette said a minute ago about I bet you're a lot like me. The other aspect that I think makes a big difference is, especially that first time you meet, whether it's a buyer or a seller. A lot of times with a seller, when you say, I bet you're a lot like me, it makes you a lot more relatable. I mean, we work with people that act different than us, look different than us, speak different than us. And so there's a lot of prejudgment from them to us. And I think in their mind, they're thinking like, if you're looking over somebody's house, they think that they kind of go to that judgment place in their mind. They're being judged. And the second you become a little more relatable and you can also tie that to something that's in their mind right then, it reduces the stigma. And I think it reduces the feeling that they are going to be in a pressure sale type situation. I think it's a very disarming communication part. And especially if they don't look like us, they don't speak like us, if they're different than we are, I think it makes both parties more relatable.
Well, you brought up a very keen point, Josh, is that when we are first with people, there is that judgment. We are all judging machines, and there's an automatic attention to how different we are. That's what they're looking for, is the differences. That's what they're judging, is the differences. And you're absolutely right. This sentence, I bet you're a bit like me, with something else where there is absolutely commonality, is going to take away that moment and those moments of judgment and get them looking now for where we have symbiosis, where we're together, where we can do something together to get them where they want to go. That is a phenomenal takeaway, Josh. Thank you. Coach Robert, brother, I see you got your mic on.
Yeah. I wanted to add the whole, I bet you're a bit like me. Those two words, like me, are an embedded command. And we were talking about this yesterday, the whole idea of words and tonality in both body language. The tonality of the like me, it's gotta be, there's gotta be a pause. It's an embedded command. It's gotta go with a downswing and a pause afterwards. It's gotta be, I bet you're a lot like me. I mean, and it's all in the delivery. And I want to share something real quick, because we're talking about practice. And you might want to write this down. Amateurs practice until they get it right, and professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. And the difference between that, have you ever been at a cocktail party and somebody delivers an amazing, perfect joke with the right tonality, with the right pause and all that, and then somebody else wants to share a joke and they totally screw it up because their tonality is all wrong, their pauses are all wrong, it's off, and they're like, oh, I'm just not very good at telling jokes. No, they are good at telling jokes, they just didn't practice. So everything that we're doing, I love what you're saying, Russ, about the getting into that room and role playing in practice. And yet, even something as simple as two words, like me, that's got to be delivered with a pause as an embedded command, the way we used to coach those. And that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, that's definitely the advanced model, and I appreciate that, because you're absolutely on point about that, and we can talk about it in the 2 o'clock in even more depth, because embedded commands is another whole section. Mark knows them from the language of sales, and it's definitely plussing the content. Clint,
hey, I just wanted to say one thing. We totally forgot about that particular thing. You're actually telling someone, not you're like me as well. I'm sorry. I'm adding to that. Like me, you're literally giving them a command. You like me, like you need to like me. There's a duality there that when you said it, like it punched me. I was like, wow, I bet you're a bit like me. So I'm literally saying not only we're similar, but you like me.
You are absolutely.
I don't know if anyone else caught that duality.
This is why it was delivered the way it was. Yep.
Coach,
and that is part of that neuro-linguistic programming that we talk about, that NLP. And yes, those embedded commands are those, again, 1 to 4 words, pause before, pause after, that give a direct command to someone that just kind of slips through their conscious mind. When he did it and we were talking about it, all of a sudden Client caught that, yet his subconscious had caught it the first time. That is awesome. Caesar, brother, I see you're in here with a hot mic. What do you got?
So just to add on to what you said, the professional mind maker upper. Next on page, I want to highlight also page 87 and 95, where it says, help people to choose by removing some of the choices and creating easy options for them. So for example, like if we're sending them properties and we're like, send them like 95 options, that creates confusion, and then which creates a huge stop, because it's like just too much for them, instead of like you actually reviewing some of the properties and then sending those. And then I wanted to add as well as, please note, when selling anything has far more to do with destroying the option of no than it does embellishing the option of yes. So those are the 2 highlights that I wanted to point out that hit me directly when it's like just removing those no's, and it's like your only option is yes after that. So I wanted to highlight those two parts of the book.
Fabulous. Great nuggets. Okay, we got 1 more minute, guys. I think 1 or 2. Get the glasses on so I can read the clock. 2 more minutes. What do you guys have?
I'd like to add something that you taught me a long time ago, Coach, that really helped me. I would say going to that next level of quality. And that is like when you guys are practicing, like, don't forget to allow yourself a few mistakes along the way, because especially if we're going to use this, I bet you're a lot like me. And when you mess up, you're really hard on yourself. Don't forget to give yourself at least 2 mistakes a week without beating yourself up, right? So does that make sense? Do you remember that conversation? I don't know how you want to put it in more professional, like that's kind of my layman's like on the spot terms, but it really helped me not to beat myself up on Wednesday when I screwed up on Monday and Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I'm like, all right, I've already had my 2 mess ups for the week and I'm going to really sail through it the rest of the week. And it was something as simple as getting up on time, because I was trying to wake up earlier and earlier and earlier. And by the time, Monday and Tuesday, I'd wake up late. Well, really, I was still doing better because I was getting up like 15 minutes earlier. So then the rest of the week, when I changed that mindset around it, I was doing phenomenal. And once he spoke to me about that, and I would say with these, like the example that I heard about the joke, just, I've failed in front of people with a joke that I'm trying to really master, and I've been the master at it before. So I would say, like, don't let that crowd, that kind of stage fright, you got to just try it and then say, all right, I screwed that one up. I'm allowed one more screw up this week, because that'll motivate you to get through those 20 calls. I got through 37 one day just using that mindset.
Amen. So guys, I want to wrap with that actually, because we've talked about practice, and Ryan and I had a great conversation about this regarding others in his world. And we are the biggest judgers of ourselves. That's where we're even the harshest. I mean, if someone talked to you like you talk to you, how long would they be your friend? And we allow that. So what Kendra's really pointing out is giving yourself grace, giving yourself patience, and celebrating your incremental improvement. That you get just 1% better each day. You're going to make 99% screw ups. You get 1% better each day. And by 12 months from now, you are 3x where you are now. The math is the math. So I just want you to give yourself grace, give yourself patience, know you're doing a great job, and by all means, keep plugging in. So that being said, it is Tuesday. Guys, we have, for those that wish to do more on the recruiting and the business development side, the accelerator meeting at 11 o'clock, meeting.com/epic. And 2 to 5 o'clock today, 2 to 3, practice and role play, 3 to 5, real play. Actually putting it into practice and having me there to talk to you guys at the top of each hour. So let's get in there. Let's make it happen. Appreciate you all. Have an amazing day.
Chapters.
Shut down the recording.
Chapters.